I also want to get you up to date on that breaking news coming out of Manchester. And we do now know that 4 people have been injured in that attack outside a synagogue at the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester. The Greater Manchester Police has confirmed that the suspect did not gain access to the building, but a car was driven at members of the public who were outside the synagogue. Bearing in mind today is Yom Kippur. It's the most significant, the holiest day of the year in the Jewish calendar, when every Jewish family will be at synagogue. 4 people injured in that attack. Reports that a guard, of course all synagogues now in Britain outrageously need to have have guards of some sort, but a guard was attacked with a knife. At this point, firearms officers were deployed and shots were fired. Now, one man was shot. He's believed to have been the offender, and it is believed, according to Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, that he is dead, but it has not been confirmed. The Greater Manchester Police have said that their terrorism may well be involved. Well, look, still in the studio with me, I've got Philip Ingram, MBE. He's a former senior military intelligence officer, joining us for the whole show. Very grateful Mike Neville has stayed with us for a few moments. He's a former Metropolitan Police DCI. Do want to carry on a conversation about the Met Police as well, Mike, but in terms of this attempted, this stabbing at a Manchester synagogue, we're told, multiple people involved, multiple people injured, firearms police being involved. This is a very serious incident. It
is a very serious incident, and I pray for the people who've been injured, and I also for the police officers who've been bravely tasked there. One of the things I picked up on what you said there, Julia, was that I went to give a talk in a synagogue about forensic science, and I was shocked at the time a security guard had to let me. That's how bad it's got. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. That the fact that people have to have a security guard on a place of worship is absolutely terrible.
I live in North London, lots of synagogues, even the Jewish schools have to have security guards, and the local Jewish community centre and the local synagogue. It is an absolute outrage and an embarrassment to our country that is needed.
It is an embarrassment to our country, and I just hope, I'm sure that the Greater Manchester Police, the counter-terrorism branch, they'll be looking into this incident. They'll know by now who this suspect is. They'll know, they'll be looking into, is he involved with any other people? Are they going to, looking, can they prevent any other attacks?
How much information will we be getting, and how soon? Remember, we've had this whole big debate about, do we find out, the ethnicity, the nationality, or whatever.
Julia, I can tell you it was a white man in Liverpool. You remember that? That's the cynicism, that when...
A white British man.
When we're not told is when people get very cynical, and let's hope that the Greater Manchester Police...
So.
I'm sure the counter-terrorism branch, they're utterly professional and they're on their case. Let's hope their press department is as professional as they are.
Yeah, if it's counted, if it's a terrorism, they haven't ruled it in, ruled it out, but it's certainly something they're looking at. If that is the case, the obvious assumption we are going to make, and in no way am I claiming to know this, or the reports are claiming, but the obvious assumption people will not unreasonably make is that there is an Islamic fundamentalist ideological background to this.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that is the case. I do not know that to be sure, but that would be the obvious leap to make.
Absolutely, and that's what people say. And what people can see is there's been the marches about Palestine, the continual flags. It's just almost like whipping it up. We've had MPs voted in across this country on policy in Gaza rather than policies in Oldham or something. Like, this is how, we're becoming. It's become crazy in this country that we're looking into things. We've become grouped together. People are voting in blocks. It should never have happened, and this is where we find ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I want to come back to you on another big story involving the Metropolitan Police, but Philip Ingram, you're a former senior military intelligence officer, and again, I think in terms of what people are going to think may well be the motive of this, again, we don't know, but we have seen this, shouting of genocide about Israel in Gaza, which is not happening, mass starvation, and this evil Israel, all this stuff, and we get it from foreign secretaries and prime ministers, and and it's people from the very, very, very top, and that conflation in many people's minds with ordinary British people who are Jewish, who may or may not even be pro-Israel. They may not agree with any government policy, but have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with a war happening in the Middle East, but being targeted. Now, we don't know that is the cause. It may have nothing to do with this. There may be a grievance from somebody who used to work at the synagogue. We don't know, and it's very important that we need to state that. But people will be suspicious.
Oh, they'll be very suspicious, and this is where information is the tool that the police need to use to get the truth out in the street. You know, that security guard probably wasn't Jewish, may not have been Jewish. The people who were hit by the car
may have just been passers-by.
May have just been passers-by and all the rest of it. But you know, the immediate response from the police is to deal with the immediate attack, to prepare for any additional threats that might be around, because you don't know, to sort the casualties out, and then secure the scene for further evidence and try and work out what goes on.
It does sound extraordinary that someone would ram a car outside a synagogue on the holiest day of the year. I mean, that's, you know, you're looking at motive then. But also, crucially, the armed police appear to have been on the scene very, very quickly.
But we saw that in 2017 with the terrorist attacks.
Yeah, but then you're talking about
this.
Westminster and London Bridge, where you would expect police to be on the...
And Manchester, a major city, you have got a significant number of armed police around and dealing with it. And you never know. There might have been intelligence in the background suggesting that there was potential, so there might have been increased patrols in the streets. We don't know, and it's dangerous to speculate at this stage.
Well, we'll keep you up to date on any developments on that, but certainly the Greater Manchester Police and indeed Andy Burnham, the Mayor, have said that the immediate danger is certainly over, and the latest reports have said that the suspect involved in the incident is believed to have acted alone. Right, Mike Neville, let me just come back, since I've got you in the studio. We didn't get to have, because of this story, such a long chat about this Metropolitan Police investigation that's now taking place after this BBC undercover filming at Charing Cross Police Station. It's in central London, right near Trafalgar Square. Now, this is a station that's been criticised many times as well before, investigation after investigation, but this secret filming by an undercover reporter revealing, some extraordinarily just prehistoric views of some of these officers, attitudes towards women who claim to be raped. A woman who's pregnant, claiming domestic abuse and raped by her partner. Well, so she says. Now, okay, to be fair, it's an allegation, it's not proven. But laughing about sort of violence against some inmates and custody sergeants. People who have extraordinary power. Now, you were mentioning just before the news, there is this issue, you put an undercover reporter into any workplace, you will find people say, good God, we wouldn't last 3 seconds here. Certainly I wouldn't. And I've always defended, the right people like to make, dark jokes and things like that. And I certainly also think people would be allowed to say personal things in WhatsApp groups that are private, that are not public. They're not standing up in the middle of a work meeting and saying this or that. Is it different though when you're talking about people who have been given statutory power over us they have power over, whether you're black, white, man or woman or whatever, if you're arrested and you're in a custody suite, the idea that the people who are in control of your safety and your freedom do appear to have views which are not very pleasant about large groups of people. Let's go with that.
Well, let's say this, that these comments are unacceptable, what's been said, these views. But the trouble is, we ask men and women to deal with the most horrible incidents, most frightening things, horrible people sometimes. And there is this issue about dark humour, saying things that, to burn off. If you're put in a stressful situation, you've been fighting with somebody, if we're saying we want people who can grab hold, have to fight with people who come in the things, who are spitting at them and put them in the cell, and we expect them to behave like saints all the time, then it ain't happening.
I completely agree with you.
So we've got to temper this, and we've got to say that these things are unacceptable, they've got to be dealt with. But as I've said, if it's the case that a doctor can leave an operating theatre, have sex with a nurse and come back after leaving a patient who might die, can keep his job, then I say that these officers should be disciplined and taught a lesson for what they've done, got a grip of. But what we're seeing is we're seeing people calling for their heads. And likewise, when we roll back to the grooming gangs, how many senior officers allowed all that wickedness to go on, and they have kept their jobs. So let's put it in the balance. And I can only reiterate, as you said, if you put this, a hospital's the same sort of environment, stressful, you've got drama, you're
dealing with
frightened, you're dealing with all sorts of bad things, and people are going to say things. So it would be anywhere. So to portray the Met as uniquely it's untrue.
I was thinking the military very much the same as well. Philip Ingram, your thoughts on that?
Very, very much so.
We're not excusing some of the language and the attitude, but
Dr. Moran, remember one story about a buddy and the two buddies going and attacking the Falkland Islands, and one of them gets hit with a mortar round, his leg's blown off. He's lying there screaming in the ground, saying, "I've lost my leg, I've lost my leg," and his buddy comes up to him and says, "No, you haven't, you silly," and used racist language because he was and said, "It's lying over there, now let's get this sorted." And both of them burst into laughter. But
that's how you cope with that sort of horror. And that's the thing, and people's use language. Again, I think the key thing we've discovered over the last few years, when all this has emerged, is, and we've got the St Mark Rowley, the Met Chief, who refuses to, will not say the words, this is not systemic. And I think he's right on that. And it's not something that all people believe. I mean, I've got friends who are coppers. I don't believe for a moment they've ever had those thoughts. But when someone's just been, smashing you over the head with a bottle, and you've been dealing with someone, severely mentally ill, and it's just sort of for the 15th time that day, and someone's vomited on you, I've got a funny feeling that their language would be pretty darn choice. And again, I think most of us who sit at desk jobs don't really understand that, and we're making judgment. But we do have an issue, because we know that there are officers who are women who are gay, who are black or Asian, who say they have had to leave, they have faced outrageous behaviour, and we know that officer after officer, and I had them tell me either on air, off air, or in person, that if you speak out, that canteen culture is everyone knows that John's are wrong, and
Julie,
but if you speak out,
anymore.
You're the but you know what I mean. That if you speak out, you're the one who's going to be ostracised, not them.
I don't know. I think the police moved a long way to where people could feel safe to make complaints. People came to me when I was a boss, and I dealt with them greatly. And I think these people should be dealt with. What I'm only asking is that we temper it, and we judge them as we judge other people. And we judge, as I say, there's often a snobbery, I find, with doctors and the like. They're middle class and nice, and the police officers are the plebs and working class, and they often get the bad treatment compared to what the doctors and nurses
Can
get.
I just read you both just a statement? We've said Keir Starmer is flying back from the European Political Community Summit in Denmark to chair an emergency Cobra meeting on the Manchester attack. That would certainly suggest that terror is considered to be the motive. We understand from the police that this suspect, who has been shot, he's not confirmed yet whether he's dead or alive, did act alone. But the Prime Minister's issued a statement saying, "I'm appalled by the attack at a synagogue in Crumpsall. The fact that this has taken place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, makes it all the more horrific. My thoughts are with the loved ones of all those affected, and my thanks go to the emergency services and all the first responders." Your response to that, Philip Ingram?
Well, Prime Minister coming back to respond if it is a single lone attacker that's been dealt with seems a little bit over the top. He's got a Home Secretary who's empowered to do this sort of thing, and it should be that.
A bomb disposal unit is now at the scene. So
I've seen unconfirmed videos coming from the scene where the police firearms officers who shot the individual were saying, "We think he's got a bomb. Please move back." So there's unconfirmed reports that there could be something else.
So we're looking in this case at a car being used as a weapon to ram people, then stabbing and having a bomb.
Like the 2017 attacks on London Bridge and Borough Market and elsewhere. So it's a standard thing that different terror groups groom people into self-radicalising and carrying out these sorts of attacks because they're easy to do.
And that's the thing, you can't, if it's one person on their own sitting in their bedroom with the internet, not making contact with anybody else.
As of today, there are 3,000 people under active investigation by the Metropolitan counter-terror police in 900 investigations. That is a huge number of people that are keeping people awake.
Can we point out that the vast majority of those will be Islamist extremists?
Yes, the majority are.
I know a lot of people talk about far-right extremism and terrorism.
An increasing percentage
in this country, the threat is
majority are Islamist.
Mike Neville?
Well, what I can do is I'm looking at the bomb disposal officers who have to go there and deal with that dangerous weapon, but the police will be hoping that they can defuse it safely, because that will provide an enormous amount of evidence about is it real explosives. They'll be searching on the computers, digital devices of this suspect to see who supplied this stuff. So let's hope that the bomb disposal staff are safe, they defuse it, and that gives the police some real insight into how this character operates, and if they can get the other people who supplied supplied the equipment that he's used.
Yeah, indeed. Or such that you would even need other people to supply it, given that a lot of this stuff is available on the internet about how to make these sort of bombs. Let's say that's getting you up to date on what is going on. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on at the scene in Manchester. Bomb disposal unit at the scene. Firearms officers have been deployed. The suspect has been shot after ramming his car into, I believe it is a man, I think we can safe to say, his car into people outside a synagogue on the holiest day of the year in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, and a security guard is believed to have been stabbed. This is the point at which police officers were deployed. But Keir Starmer is flying back from a summit in Denmark to chair an emergency Cobra meeting on the Manchester attacks, now obviously believed to be a terror attack, with bomb disposal unit at the scene. More on that coming up. More with Philip Ingram. Big thank you to Mike Neville, former Metropolitan Police DCI. Thank you so much. This is Talk. Just to get you up to date, that breaking news, what does appear to have been a terror attack on a synagogue in Greater Manchester, the Heaton Park Synagogue, on the holiest day of the year in the Jewish calendar, that's Yom Kippur. 4 people injured, one security guard stabbed after a man rammed his car into people on the outside the synagogue. Firearms police have been deployed. The suspect is believed to have been shot. We're not known yet whether he's dead or alive. Now, the Prime Minister is flying back early from a summit in Denmark to chair an emergency Cobra meeting on the attack. It's not been confirmed as a terror attack, but that would certainly suggest that seems to be what the authorities are suspecting. It's believed that a bomb disposal unit is currently at the scene, as well as the paramedics and armed police, concerned that there is a bomb that needs to be dismantled. Keir Starmer has issued a statement saying he's appalled by the attack and his thoughts with the loved ones of those affected, and thanks the emergency services and all the first responders. Philip Ingram. There's no doubt at all that we have seen. I mean, again, we don't know the motives yet of the suspect. We have speculated on what would be considered to be most likely. The fact that Cobra meeting is happening suggests, a terror attack. What would be the motives for attacking a synagogue on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar? I mean, look, Islamist extremism would be the explanation for most people. But we've also had a whole raft of people who have been demonising not just Israel, Israelis, and Jews here in Britain and abroad for the actions in Gaza in response to the October 7th attack. We're coming up to the anniversary, coming up on Tuesday, of that has demonised them, deified the pro-Palestine movement. There is every possibility that it could be related to that as well.
I think there's more than every possibility. I think there's a much stronger link to it, and therefore those politicians that have been stirring up a lot of the anti-Semitism, the anti-Jewish sentiment that there is in this country need to be ashamed of themselves, because they will have helped stimulate this. And we've seen it across Europe. Yesterday there was a bomb attack at the Oktoberfest in Germany. I've seen unconfirmed reports of stabbing in Dublin from a migrant against a jogger. You tend to find patterns of these happen in different countries, and you're getting all of that, pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish, and linking the Jewish religion to anti-Israeli sentiment.
And of course they always say no, it's not anti-Semitic, but the rise in anti-Semitic attacks it comes. Also, by the way, we've got a peace plan on the table accepted by the leader of Israel, by Benjamin Netanyahu. Still waiting for a response though from the Hamas leaders. Still haven't had one. In fact, they're busy been shooting rockets.
But it'll all be Israel and America's fault whenever they don't accept it, and they're still going out and killing members of the Israeli Defense Forces and firing rockets into Israel and all the rest on a daily basis. So the politicians that are blindly coming out and just supporting it are behind a lot of the sentiment that will have led to some of the incidents that have happened in the past days, and they need to be ashamed of themselves. And I'm going
to say low level. I don't think it is low level. The low level explosion of anti-Semitism in recent years. Kids being afraid of identifying as Jewish on the way to school, harassment of people on tubes, on buses. There's a video going around yesterday. No Jews on this tram. Things like that. Look, I mean, this is this is happening on a widespread basis now.
And a lot of this is being stimulated by hostile nation states. So the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps will be behind pushing a lot of the anti-Israeli and anti-Jewish sentiment, because they know that will be tying up political capital and dealing with things. Vladimir Putin in Russia will be going, hey, here's an easy way of taking some of the political capital away from what the West is focusing on by distracting them and other things. So is stirring it up. People say, oh no, there's no links like that. There are links like that. It's all linked together and pushing it. And therefore,
that's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It is what they do, and they're very good. They're very good at it.
And also, genuinely, it just shows sort of dissent and disagreement and conflict within Western societies.
Which is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants to do, because he then exploits that dissent even further, and it means that our security services aren't focusing on the threats that are coming from them. The Chinese love it as well. Our politicians are not focused on further support for Ukraine because they're being tied up with these sorts of domestic issues. Keir Starmer was in Denmark talking about EU support for Ukraine and for elsewhere. He's not doing that now. He's coming back here to chair a Cobra meeting.
And it's interesting, especially that in Denmark, in Copenhagen, we've had drones disrupting, having to close the airport. We've seen this happening. Drones sort of just interfering in airports and things. And again, it's believed to be, the Russians who are behind this. The Russians
behind it, and it's a growing threat. And it's all linked. And people who say, no, it's not, this is purely to do with the Palestinian people, just don't know what they're talking about. And this is why groups like Palestine Action get proscribed, because there is intelligence sitting behind it that says actually the people who are pulling the strings, the puppeteers, are these nation state organisations.
I was planning to talk a lot in this half hour about the people getting on boats to come here. What about Greta Thunberg and her little acolytes on that flotilla, the boats going to Gaza, they claim, who got boarded by the IDF, helped on with her jacket, no doubt given Yom Kippur and fasting, maybe not given a sandwich like she was last time. But there's argument that they've been taken hostage once again, seized by the Israeli forces. What do you make of that flotilla? It's run by Hamas. By the way, the people organising that flotilla are absolutely Hamas affiliated.
They're carrying out a legitimate protest. That's fine, but they're getting then to a point where they're going to put themselves at danger. They're going to put other security.
They were arguing, look, we're in international seas. The Israelis don't have the right to board our boats.
Well, I'd say they're protecting them from getting into a place where, when they land with their gaze against or gay support for Hamas,
Queers for Palestine.
That's the phrase I was looking for. Queers for Palestine. Something bad may happen to them. Reality may come in.
Well, a lot of people saying they should have been allowed to just let them dock in Gaza. But of course, they say they're bringing aid. Actually, but there's barely any aid. They've thrown some of it overboard anyway.
There's no aid. But also, in plastic bottles to float in.
But also, they've been offered every opportunity to take that. But you can have the aid. You can take the aid in if you want to take the aid in. And by the way, we're talking drop in the ocean, quite literally.
And if they had gone on shore and anything had happened to them, oh my goodness, the criticism that would have then come out saying, well, nobody protected them, and all that. You can't win one way or the other. And the Israelis have gone in, quietly arrested a number of people. There's still some boats that are continuing further forward, but I think the Israelis will come back and deal with those. It was ever going to happen.
Do you think, just finally, that the deal will, the peace deal, the 20-point plan accepted by Donald Trump, put by Donald Trump, accepted by Netanyahu, and indeed most Middle Eastern nations, European, the nations as well. Do you think that Hamas will accept it?
No, Hamas don't want to accept it. Their leadership are still sitting there in their five-star. Well, those that remain in their five-star hotels. But
isn't Qatar putting pressure on them now? Qatar knows that they could be targeted.
Qatar is putting pressure on them, but again, those Hamas fighters on the ground know that they will have to disband completely and disappear, and they lose their little power base. They're little men with big rifles that have got power over the local communities. You take that rifle away from them, and those communities are going to turn on them.
Okay, very interesting, Philip Ingram. Thank you very much indeed. Just a statement now from the Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch. We've had that statement about this suspected terror attack in Manchester outside a synagogue in North Manchester at Heaton Park. The Prime Minister has said that he is appalled by the attack. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, horrified. Kemi Badenoch says it looks like an outrageous attack on the Jewish community on their holiest day.